Hey everyone, we are tuning in to our first episode review of Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 1. For those who are seeing this in the flesh, my name is Ash Kumra with Trek Futurist. I have one of my writers here, Gabby Marzola with Trek Futurist. And we have Josh Gilliland, who runs Legal Geeks. But more importantly, he is, if there was a scholar for Star Trek, he would be one of those. He would be one. Like, in fact, I'm surprised you didn't get your PhD in Star Trekology if there was a degree.
That would have been a better life choice. There's still time, I guess, but yeah, that would have been a better life choice. It's boy howdy, this was everything that I've wanted out of Star Trek, and since like 2004. So this is fantastic.
Tell us why. Why do you feel that?
Star Trek works best as episodic storytelling. You can have overarching themes that they did with great success in Deep Space Nine. This took on an allegory of a culture that can't play nice together, that wants to kill each other, that has 24-hour news coverage. And because of seeing the battle at the end of Discovery Season 2, they decide, hey, we now know how to make warp weapons so we can obliterate our enemies. That's the foil for being able to talk about all the horrible things we've been dealing with since 2016. And being able to jump into that in a way that doesn't shy away from it. Because when Pike jumps into their face-to-face meeting and says, here's some of our historical footage, it's from January 6th.
Yeah.
Like, not shying away from complex, scary issues of a society that's grown to hate each other. And this week, with a draft opinion that came out, highlights the feeling of angst and concern, and the feeling that half this country, or less than half this country, hates the majority of this country. And it, here's your future that looks like a nuclear war that kills millions in the first minute. So let's talk about all those issues, and we'll use sci-fi to do it. That's what Star Trek was designed to do. Whether it was be this your last battlefield, or tons of others. Like, there's no shortage, to the fact we get a deep cut to Operation Annihilate. Wow, cool, well done. Just a great story. Plus, we get to see a captain dealing with PTSD because he's lived what he thinks is his death.
Do you think it's not his death?
Oh, well,
because that was the thing that we were trying to figure out. Is it possible that he changes the timeline in this show, or do we know he's going to die at the end, and we just have to be okay with losing him?
Well, the menagerie, highlight, or the cage highlights he'll be okay, and it also makes what Spock is willing to do in the menagerie, the cage, all the more important, because Spock is willing to risk a death sentence to get Pike, who sacrificed himself, knowing that if I take this time crystal, I've created a fixed future for myself where I end up paralyzed, unable to live in a confined mobile wheelchair iron lung type contraption. And because he knows that's his future and it's coming for him, and he knows the day that it's going to happen, he's in this countdown. That's a lot to live with. Think of, like, if you have a horrid disease, that's just fear of cancer. You don't want to die that way. Like, you hope against hope that will not be your future. That will not be how your story ends. Pike has that fear, and we get to see him having flashbacks and being able to be vulnerable about it and talk to Spock about it because he's scared And how will this affect my performance? And he learns to live with it and leverages that experience to the planet they made accidental first contact with, to great avail to save the day on learning to live with it and looking ahead.
Let's go a little external for a second. I noticed, is it just me or is this like the most attractive cast I've ever seen in a Star Trek series?
What a left turn, dude. But yes, fully agree. Beautiful people on that thing. They know what they're doing.
Anson Mount's hair is magnificent.
Yeah, it's goals. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of like, I need to grow my hair out, and I don't know.
I can't do that. I just,
It just couldn't be me.
bravo, sir. Bravo.
But I mean, from a guy's perspective, the women on this show were just striking.
Beautiful.
Yeah, everyone's attractive. Like, so
Yeah, like,
Really,
and of course the
everyone.
guys are Spock, him, obviously the Doctor. I'll give him that, but man,
But that's really Hollywood. Honestly, you just put hot people on TV. Most of the time, people are going to watch it.
it's a tried and true method, but we
It is.
see them also being human. Like, Pike has a relationship with another captain, and I need to watch it again with the subtitles on because I watched it at 11 o'clock at night, like a kid hungry for Christmas morning. And so I need to watch it again and take notes to get her name. But they have a deep understanding relationship, both understand their careers, and she clearly cares about him and his well-being. We see Spock get engaged
Yeah.
to Pring, which I thought they hadn't seen each other since childhood. So that was kind of a head turn for me. So kind of want to go back and watch a muck time now.
Samuel Kirk, what his Kirk's brother?
Yeah, who dies in Operation Annihilate.
Mhm.
And Shatner played his corpse wearing a mustache.
I know.
So it's like, okay, that's cool, because they're talking about Lieutenant Kirk. It's like Kirk would be a lieutenant about now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's his brother Sam. That's a nice fake out, deep cut to canon. But yeah, everyone's attractive.
True.
But we see them be human.
Yeah.
Human beings who have a relationship with another human being. Like, he makes her breakfast. They have an in-depth conversation that's like, I care about you. Are you working through this? What do you want to talk about it? To Spock and to Pring having their discussion about, she's clearly not on board with his career choice. So we know that's going to be a problem later when Pon Farr comes around once again. So, but it's like we see people be people.
Yeah, the writing is actually like, they show so much of the internal type of monologue that you can like actually empathize with this character enough that you can see like, oh, that's why they're doing something, instead of like, what are they doing? Like, that sounds crazy. Like, that's not what normal humans would do. But in this case, because you know the why, you're like, okay, that makes sense. That action makes sense.
Yeah. Well, again, you think about, like, if you've had waiting for medical test results and you're scared, like we see that with Pike. I mean, that's probably the closest thing to compare it to, with knowing I'm going to get severely burned by radiation. I felt it. I've experienced what I think will be my end and what's going to happen to me afterwards. He doesn't know about the Telosians and that there will be a happy ending for him. But he's living with that. And we get to see him live with it in a way that we can all identify with.
Yeah.
It's not every captain has to have like the ripped shirt and well-oiled chest, which I'm sure he probably would. But, when he beams into the meeting between the warring factions, he's very humble about it. Hi. It is so good. It's just,
Yeah. He's like he's a very humble captain. I mean, you compare him to Picard, wouldn't have done that. Picard would have been like, I'm Jean-Luc Picard, whatever. And Kirk would have been like what you just said, the pouting the chest kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think Kirk and Picard would have both been able to have handled the situation. They would have handled it with their own style, but each had high emotional IQ. Pike does as well, but there's a layer of empathy that I might be deeper than we've seen before.
Yeah.
Now, granted, if you do a rewatch of Voyager and Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, you might, have similar feelings for those captains as well.
Archer might, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, Archer has that vibe.
Yeah, it's deep emotional IQ.
Yeah.
And again, it's the power play of, I need to convince a planet not to kill itself. That's a hat trick.
It's a struggle. Right?
That's a hat trick. I love
Yeah, it's just, that'd be nice if someone could do that here. It's like, whoa, that draft opinion really freaked out everybody. Let's play the tape of what could happen. We don't have that ability. We
don't.
I just did a nearly 4-hour drive and listened to several podcasts on the way up, talking about the freak out that people are having. And that's real. Star Trek is taking things that are real, putting, makeup and foreheads and crazy hair, and a society where men wear shorts in public. And, it's like, wow, everyone has that Angus Young look. Groovy. And here we go.
Yeah, they actually pulled it off. They looked okay. But you're right. Like the whole way that they're presenting it is a way that's it's easy to bring this message to a large group of people, because it's kind of like a peripheral way. We've been so used to this central route of persuasion from news media and whatever, but it's like, if you go in a peripheral route of a story and wrapping it nicely, it gives people it puts everybody's guard down, and you're able to kind of see it from a different lens, which makes this, that's why I really like this episode. And full confession here, I am new to the Star Trek world, which is why I think it's interesting to meet someone like you who is very well versed, and so I'm learning a lot today. But it's an interesting juxtaposition to put us on here, but I'm learning a lot from a different perspective that you've already known the history, and so have you, but it's I can appreciate it from this new lens as well.
What spoke to you about this episode?
The biggest theme that I see is kind of the introduction of the captain, because it's just it's a new way of seeing him. But because he has that, as we were talking about, he has that he knows that he's going to die on this exact date. And I had been talking to Ash about this a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what if you did know the day that you were going to die, and how, would you live your life any differently? And I was like, there's the possibility that if you're going to die drowning in 10 years, then I would do everything in my power never to be in water. I would run away from it so hard. And that's what he did. He was living in Montana and running away from it. And he's like, I'm never going to go back up there, because then I don't have to die. And it's he resolves himself and decides I'm not going to do anything different, because this is my life and I'm accepting it and I'm not going to let it go. So that was the biggest theme that stuck out to me. And I think that makes him a very, interesting character, someone that you want to watch, someone that you want to know what's going to happen to next. Because he does have that, his job is to be captain. He can't make any mistakes. He can't hesitate 1 second. Kirk almost went to jail because he didn't do a yellow alert and a red alert in court martial. That was an insane, he has to have that immediate